Welcome, world, to Manage Your Damn Money with Ben and Malcolm. Malcolm, another week. What is going on? How are you feeling?
Feeling good now that I'm here, man. Winter is here.
Winter has arrived in Washington, D.C.
Forget what Game of Thrones is talking about. Winter has come.
Winter is coming. I've never actually seen that show.
Me neither.
That's ironic. We want to welcome you to Manage Your Damn Money with Ben and Malcolm. This is the show that doubles both as a podcast and as a TV show, and it might sound as such at times. This is the place where we trade in personal financial advice for entertaining conversations about money. And today's conversation at hand, a conversation with tech startup founder Angel Rich. Angel Rich is the founder of a startup which we will talk about. She also went to school with me at Hampton University, our home by the sea. So really excited to have a fellow Hamptonian in the house.
So two people I know then who went to Hampton.
Yes, absolutely. Interesting thing today, real quick, Malcolm. I realized I don't live in Virginia,
right?
But in Virginia today is like a voting day, and I'm
for the governor.
Is it the governor? I didn't even know.
So.
I didn't even know what it was about, and I felt kind of bad. Like I'm part of the problem because I didn't know today was like a day you vote.
But I don't live in Virginia.
That's true. So that makes sense.
Maybe we're both part of the problem. I don't know.
Clearly. Also, you in particular, you're coming up on. When is this marathon thing happening?
Saturday morning, and I'm actually headed to Virginia. It's in Richmond.
This coming Saturday. This week.
Saturday.
So this week, Malcolm will or won't get $100 for finishing a marathon. I think the odds are in my favor.
Why are the odds in your favor?
Just because it's cold, you're 30, and
first of all, I'm 29.
Okay.
Second of all, you're a hater.
Absolutely.
But I do have the knees of a 60-year-old woman. You're right. So we're going to find out together.
Okay, indeed. What's the furthest you've run so far in terms of training?
I did 11 miles this past weekend.
Okay.
And I still feel it. So, we'll see.
Are you excited? Are you scared? Like, how you feeling about it?
No, I feel fine. I keep trying to tell you, like, elite athletes like myself and my girlfriend in another world, Serena Williams, like, I can just get off the couch, do this, and, like, win Wimbledon. Like,
all right.
just,
That's what you're going to do. All right, we'll see about that. We're going to take a really quick music break early in the show because our guest, Miss Angel Rich, she is the founder of the Wealth Factory. We're going to talk to her about that. But before we talk to her about that, she wanted to get in on the conversation early on what we're talking about later in the show. So when we come back, we're going to do headlines and also bring on Angel Rich, talk to her a little bit about herself, and then get into our headlines. This is Manage Your Damn Money with Ben and Malcolm. We will be right back. Welcome back to Manage Your Damn Money with Ben and Malcolm. We want to quickly remind folks you can find us all across the different podcast spectrum platforms, Stitcher, iTunes, or Apple Podcasts now, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just search Manage Your Damn Money with Ben and Malcolm, and you'll find us, subscribe, and listen to past episodes of the show. We are joined today early in the show by Miss Angel Rich. Angel, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, fellow Hamptonian.
Yes, indeed. It's wonderful to have you. We have you here for a number of reasons, but one of which you are the founder of a tech startup called the Wealth Factory. Quickly tell us what you do, and then we'll kind of come back to that. But tell us what you do and who you are.
Definitely. At the Wealth Factory, we design financial literacy, education, and technology games. We walk people from birth to retirement in 12 interactive modules to exceed the personal finance Common Core standards. And the first game we created is called Credit Stacker, where it's basically a play on Candy Crush. It allows you to swap around colored pieces to pay off your debt, achieve a high credit score, and learn from the multiple choice questions.
That's how I feel about my debt. Like I just switch around. Like to pay off this. That's how it works.
Like
right?
a game of Candy
Pretty
Crush.
much.
Well, that's good, Angel. And we'll talk about that a little bit. But the reason why you're on the show now is because it is time for headlines. And
you weren't ready for
thanks,
that
Jacob.
either, were you?
I wasn't, but I'm with it. I'm with it.
40 shows in, and I still get caught off guard.
Just flow with it. So in today's headlines, real hot topic, Papa John's loses dough. Pizza chain founder loses $70 million in hours and blames the NFL. We pulled a Forbes piece at the open of November by Noah Kirch, explaining a huge loss in stock value by Papa John's and its founder and CEO, John Shatner. The net worth of John Shatner, founder and CEO of pizza chain Papa John's, fell $70 million in less than 24 hours after the company released its third quarter financial report on Tuesday afternoon, or a recent Tuesday afternoon. The business beat estimates on earnings and revenue, but it lowered guidance on the same store sales for the coming period. Investors apparently were not pleased with the news and sent shares of the stock down 11% through 12:30 p.m. Eastern time on that next Wednesday. The stock is now trading at over $60 per share, which isn't that bad. And John, the owner of Papa John's, owns 25% of the company. So that drop in share price went down. The news of their underperformance, so to speak, came on a call, or like a earnings call or whatever.
Right.
What explain that real quick, Malcolm.
Basically, any publicly traded company 4 times a year is required to get on the phone and publicly talk to their shareholders about what happened through the quarter, why they made money, why they didn't make money, why they hit whatever projections they gave them the last time they had the call, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And anyone who is a stakeholder in the company is invited to listen in on that call.
Right.
And so it was actually after the call where he blamed the NFL that Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everything else, people started to pass around the information as quickly as we normally do. And that's when his stock took a beating, because people didn't appreciate him scapegoating.
So it wasn't on the call that he said that?
It wasn't on the call. It was on the call that he said that.
Okay.
But everybody kind of just said, this is the time that it's, we got to make them feel it.
Right.
If you will.
Absolutely.
And then all of a sudden, like 2 days later, as was discussed on the show before ours, if anybody caught it, the very worst thing that could happen after that is like the alt-right in their protest fashion said, we are now claiming Papa John's as our official pizza.
Oh, wow.
And it took a beating all over again. So
Right.
it just, one bad wave begat another bad wave.
And as Malcolm alluded to, Shatner, I guess, went on to blame part of the downturn of their sales on the National Football League, which obviously has faced a lot of turbulence amid widespread national anthem protests over the past year. The quote that was attributed to the founder and CEO of Papa John's was, "The NFL has hurt us by not resolving the current debacle," he said it says on the conference call.
Yeah.
And then, "We are today disappointed that the NFL and its leadership did not resolve the ongoing situation to the satisfaction of all parties long ago," he said. "This should have been nipped in the bud a year ago." Which is funny. Shatner is a native of Indiana. He built his business from scratch. I thought this was an interesting detail. After graduating from college in 1983, he began working at his father's tavern. Then, on the brink of bankruptcy, he sold his car to pay off debts and bought used pizza equipment, which he installed in the broom closet at the bar that his father owned. So that's how he got started.
Must be nice.
Right.
But here's real quick. Here's like another really funny way that social media jumped in and took hold of this whole thing in a completely different way. All of a sudden, within like an hour, you had DiGiorno and Pizza Hut's Twitter, like official Twitter accounts,
Right.
Basically saying the NFL protests have not hurt our sales.
Right.
Oh.
And somebody made the joke, if you got a problem with your pizza jumping up in the videos, smiling, being in the show, come on over here to Pizza Hut. And like all of a sudden, it just became this thing where once again, because you're the CEO of a company, you are now a national, international figure in a way you didn't used to be pre-social media, and you're now responsible for a lot more than just your earnings.
And we've talked about it in the past. Angel, what was your reaction when you heard about the news?
Well, I actually kind of have a business and a social kind of perspective on it. From a business perspective, one of my favorite books is Who Moved My Cheese. Have you read it?
I'm not.
I did read that, actually.
Exactly. I feel like this is a case of Who Moved My Cheese, where Papa John's was warned a year ago that there was tension in the NFL and social relations.
Absolutely.
So a year ago, they should have noticed that their cheese was being moved.
Right.
And they should have started making other plans
Absolutely.
to be able to have their branding efforts picked up in a different way.
Absolutely.
So I don't think that the NFL is responsible at all for Papa John's poor business decisions when it comes to their branding efforts. And then from a social perspective, don't be associated with the NFL.
Well, don't say that too loud, because that's what the NFL is worried about, which is also the reason the owner of Ben's favorite team, the Cowboys, jumped out there and said something along the lines of, all the players need to stand for the anthem. I'm putting my foot down, and anybody on my team that doesn't stand isn't going to play. It just so happens, I saw this initially on Twitter and then really quickly read to find out if it was true. Jerry Jones is the single largest individual stockholder in Papa John's outside of the owner, Papa John himself.
Right.
So their interests are intertwined, which explains the reason that both of them have handled this thing extremely terribly.
Absolutely. And we at Manager Damn Money don't count ourselves as petty people, but we're going to be petty real quick. For like the first time in a while, Malcolm, I don't feel like we've been petty.
Speak for yourself. I probably was petty at the Metro this morning.
A couple of Twitter responses from the news. Mike Wise guy said Colin Kaepernick has done it now, taking dollars away from billionaire founder of pizza franchise. I'll alert the media. Tatted YK Dub. Papa John's puts tomato soup on cardboard and threw Peyton Manning's long head on a commercial and is blaming players for a loss in sales, which is hilarious. Then El Deverino, Papa John's is the Cleveland Browns of pizza. And then another one by Marcella Comedy. I thought this one was funny. Papa John's would rather blame poor sales on NFL players kneeling than accept the fact that Little Caesars Hot and Ready is for the people.
That might be facts.
Then Eugene GU says Papa John's pizza tastes like scapegoat cheese with ketchup on a crust of stale excuses.
Oh my God.
To your point, Angel, someone moving the cheese or the cheese going bad.
Exactly.
So Angel, Malcolm mentioned this, and we've kind of talked about this briefly on the show before. You're the head of a startup, and we're in this world where Twitter is kind of a part and parcel of what you have to do as a CEO and as a head of a company. In this place where business and social issues like flow like the ocean, how do you see, or what do you see as the implications of a social issue essentially having the potential, if you accept Papa John's premise, that it can impact your business, it being a social issue that's only somewhat connected to what you're doing from a business on a day-to-day basis?
I actually feel as though it's important for all humans to support social issues. Financial literacy has nothing to do with the NFL, but I practically begged you to allow me to speak on it because I feel as though the topic is so important. Right. I think that oftentimes people think that they have the luxury of not speaking on a topic, but from my point of view, it's quite the opposite. We have a sense of urgency, as Martin Luther King would put it, to increase our civil rights. And I think that anybody that is of influence or has any type of audience or platform should be leveraging that platform to increase the movement and move that forward and to support ethical efforts. And so I personally don't care. I will speak from the highest mountain when I feel as though something is wrong. And I think that people should look more at being on the right side of history as opposed to their current reputation.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's a great set of words you just spoke there. Malcolm, on the investing side, there's clearly like an investing portion of the story. The stock dipped 11%. Is there does somebody say, oh, I'm going to scoop that up and ride it back up? What are the investing takeaways here?
Probably because it's rebounded some.
Right.
So remember, what was it, maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago now, we did a show on socially responsible investing.
Yeah.
And I think watching what happened to Papa John's stock price is a result of socially responsible investing, right, where you probably had a good bit of people who said, I don't want to be associated with this brand as far as my pocket is concerned because I don't feel good about what the CEO, the owner, the founder, the CEO stands for on a personal level. But then on the flip side of that show, we also talked about the fact that it could sometimes not have the same impact that you hope it would, because you do have savvy investors out there who say, oh, well, Papa John's is now selling for an 11% discount
That's
today.
a discount.
I'm going to go buy it, and I could care less what Papa John does in his free time, as long as it doesn't affect the share price. And so you kind of have this tug of war between people who want to invest based on their ideals versus people who invest based on just fundamentals and the technicals of the company. And I look at it as an investor and go, today's a great opportunity to buy some more. Which is the reason why, even though it took a beating initially, Papa John's has actually rebounded a little bit since that initially happened. And, you know, we kind of see where we're in this mode where maybe socially responsible investing hasn't really taken a hold the way we hope it would. But, you know.
Well, nevertheless, just an interesting story and pretty lots of comedy infused in that. We want to remind people you're listening and watching Manage Your Damn Money with Ben and Malcolm. We're going to take another quick music break and hear from the co-creator of this show, Mr. Beats by Beeman. You can listen to his music on Instagram. Follow him at Beats by Beeman. Beeman spelled BEEMEN. And then also you can find us always on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud.com, Facebook.com/Manage Your Damn Money, as well as our website, ManageYourDamnMoney.com. Of course, also, if you have questions or you want us to cover a particular topic, send us an email at info@ManageYourDamnMoney.com. This is Manage Your Damn Money with Ben and Malcolm. We will be right back.
Listen. Now listen.
Welcome back to Manage Your Damn Money. Malcolm and I today are joined by Miss Angel Rich. She is a startup founder, tech company founder. The name of her company is called The Wealth Factory. And today's conversation with Angel has to do with what she does on a day-to-day basis with her company, as well as venture capital's funding gender gap. Is the story we pulled to kind of preview your being on the show. But we pulled a story that read, venture capital's funding gender gap is actually getting worse. A Fortune.com piece penned by Valentina Zarya in March of 2017 explains that the gap in funding for women-led companies and men-led companies has actually gotten worse since, I think, initial attention got brought to it a couple years ago. Venture capitalists invested $5.82 billion in companies with all male founders in 2016. Meanwhile, women received just $1.46 billion in VC money last year, according to data from M&A, private equity, and venture capital database PitchBook. That massive disparity is due both to differences in the number of deals and the average deal size by gender. So the actual definition, before we go any further, of venture capital, I pulled this from no place other than Google. Venture capital is a type of private equity, a form of financing that is provided for firms or funds too small or in early stages, emerging firms that are deemed to have high growth potential or which have demonstrated high growth. What's been, to boil that down, Angel, what's been your understanding of venture capital since you've been in the startup game for many years now? What's your understanding of venture capital?
Basically, a institution that is looking to invest in a company that they feel as though could have a 10x or higher return, and they're looking for at least probably $1 or $2 million at an extreme minimum.
Okay, excellent. And the story that we pulled from Fortune.com said that in 2016, 5,800 male-founded companies got VC funding compared to just 359 female-founded companies, which is a crazy disparity. In other words, companies run by men got more than 16 times more funding than companies run by women. Companies with both male and female founders, so where there was like, kind of a co-gender mix or whatever you want to call that, fared slightly better than those founded exclusively by women, with 1,067 receiving funding. There was some positive news, however. Women-led companies made up almost 5% of all VC deals in 2016, the highest percentage in past decade. It's a paltry number, but a noticeable improvement from 10 years ago when female founders were involved in just 2.95% of deals. While the percentage of deals that went to women increased last year, women actually lost ground when it comes to the share of venture capitalist dollars. In 2016, women got just 2.19 venture capital funding dollars, a smaller piece of the pie than every year in the past decade, with the exception of 2008 and 2012. So, Angel, you're on the show because you are a woman and you are also the head of a tech startup. What all of the things that we just kind of run down, what are the things that come to your mind? What do you think about it? Just open question.
I think about the stats that you didn't read.
Okay. What are those?
The fact that the average white male of a successful company raises $3 to $5 million.
Okay.
The fact that the average that a successful black woman raises is $35,000.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The fact that in 2015, black women had the most successful companies in the world.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that diversity outperforms the majority by 35%.
Oh, wow.
So when you look at it from a business perspective, it truly boggles my mind. It actually doesn't surprise me at all that it's been a decrease in funding for black women because there's more black women asking for funding. It's almost like, hold up, I thought y'all was unicorns. Too many unicorns. Can't make a decision. Oh, what do? We do nothing. And so that's pretty much the situation.
Okay.
So real quick.
And one more.
Sorry.
There's only been, you didn't talk about the amounts. Yes, 359 women received money. But again, remember that average was 35,000 of a successful company.
Right.
There's only been 16 black women in the world over the past 5 years that has raised more than $1 million.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Okay.
Those are the numbers that are so dismal that they won't even report those.
Oh, okay. Excellent. Well, that's excellent additional information. What were you going to say, Malcolm?
I want to take a step back from where we just ended up and talk about how you got where you are for a second, because I think that's kind of fascinating in this whole story too, because you didn't just show up here one day and say, I have this great idea for an app. You might not want to brag on yourself, so I'm going to do it for you real quick. Because as I'm reading all the stuff you've done, and to point it out, if it's not obvious, because some people are listening, some people aren't watching, you're the same age as Ben and I. I'm 29, by the way. Ben's an old man. He's 30. And so you're our contemporary, and you've already been a lot of places, right? So I looked. So, for example, you've written a book.
Yes.
You also had an opportunity to have an MBA paid for by your former company and turned it down to go found the company that you currently have.
And their graduation speaker this year on my birthday.
Oh,
hey.
See, I didn't even catch that one. See, but so, and also, actually, there's a really big study that Prudential did once upon a time, that when I was first getting into this business, it was like at the time I was getting licensed, the African American Experience Study by Prudential. That was like 2011, 2012. I read that study, and it was actually
Are you serious?
I swear, and I actually was passing it out to my clients.
Are you serious?
Like and so as I'm reading that, I'm like, she wrote that study. We got to get her on the show. So you didn't just show up here one day,
right,
and then just decide to have this great idea for an app. You actually are kind of a big deal. You might not want to say it in those words, so I'll say it for you. But so that also has something to do with it, because when you invest in a company, you're not just investing in the idea and the company and the financials. You are investing in the company's founder. And so I figure the person who can save Prudential $60 billion in 1 year. $6 billion. Sorry, I mean $1 billion is a big deal, right?
Yeah.
So the person who can save a company $6 billion and take them from like number 16 to number 4, is that what it was, in 1 year, is probably equipped to be able to raise a few dollars and fund a tech company. So I just wanted to make sure that I threw that in there, because I didn't want it to sound like it's a case where just an average, ordinary person has a great idea for a company. They came to Shark Tank to pitch it, and the sharks decided they didn't like it, right? Like it's a little more to it than that.
Absolutely. And to that point, Angel, why don't you walk us through the entire? Now we're into the you section of the show.
Okay.
Give us the background of how you came to creating the Wealth Factory, and then also Credit Stacker, and just give us the whole real quick, how that happened.
So whenever I think about this, because I try to reverse engineer my own path so that I could try to give advice to other people, and I'm just going to run through some milestones of my life, and feel free to pause me or circle back and ask questions, because there is a lot. Mm-hmm. So first off, I learned how to read before I ever went to school.
Okay.
I went to school in kindergarten on a 5th grade reading level, and they used to take me out to class and put me with the 5th graders and all these other things.
Where'd you grow up?
Benham Road.
So here in D.C.?
Yeah. Capitol Hill, depending on who asking. And so, I'm just saying, depends on which way you enter my street, you heard me? And so, basically, because of that, I was always advanced. So I could have graduated high school a year early, chose not to. I wanted to graduate side by side with my best friend. Okay. Senior year, my college teacher asked me my English teacher asked me where my college acceptance letter is. I was like, nobody in my family has ever went to college, so I'm not going to college. I'm going to just go sell life insurance like the rest of my family. It's a requirement in my family to get your license when you turn 18. Still had to get my license, sell life insurance. Mm-hmm. But I ended up applying for college, and that's how I got accepted into Hampton University. Mm-hmm. My first day at Hampton was the first time I even stepped foot on a college campus. Wow. I had never even been to Howard. Right. And so from there, I wanted to lose 100 pounds. I was 100 pounds bigger.
Okay.
So I decided to go to China my sophomore year of college.
Okay.
And to me, that is kind of where my story begins, because that was the first time I did a speech yesterday. I was on fire yesterday. But I did a speech about guts and grit. And I told the story about that was the first time I stepped outside of my role to actually do something for myself. So I developed my guts and grit there. Then, and that was in 2007. In 2008, I was blessed to get an internship with the Financial Regulatory Authority. They were merging NASDAQ and NYSE at the time. I'm actually one of the authors of the Member Regulation Handbook for the stock market. I was the first person to create the rules, and then it went up the ladder from there. Okay. So then later that year, this is why all of that is important. Because later that year, I walk into the library, and a group of people asked me to lead them in a Goldman Sachs Portfolio Challenge. And I say, I don't know anything about the stock market, and I've never done a case competition. And they say, oh, we're confident you can lead us. And I said, okay. So, again, I had just interned for FINRA and was one of the authors of the Member Regulation Handbook, but I had never seen the stock market myself. Right. And so they showed me the stock market for the first time. It happened to be Christmas break. The stock market had just crashed. This was December 2008. And I came up with an algorithm for the stock market. Okay. We did positive 2%, and the market did negative 2%. And I asked myself, who would ever figure this out? Who's going to sit down and do all this analysis? There needs to be a game where people can live out their financial life without the risk of them losing their money. That following spring, I walked into the School of Business, and it's a former student there that has now gone off to work at Prudential, and he asked me to do this marketing competition. And I said, I'm over competitions. And he was like, Angel, this is a life insurance company and it's marketing. I was queen bee of marketing, and the entire campus knew that I sold life insurance. And so the whole city probably knew I sold life insurance. And so I was like, okay, this is a no-brainer. So we ended up coming with the idea of selling life insurance to Generation Y. And I was actually in Forbes when I was 22 for that. Sold it for $15,000. I got to pick any position I wanted to at Prudential. That led me to being able to achieve my goal of completing the African American Financial Experience Study. That was my life's goal. Right. I didn't expect to get that done until I was 60.
Wow.
Seriously. That was I had it all planned out.
You graduated early again.
So to get it done at, I think I was 23, I was like actually freaked out. I was like, what am I supposed to do with my life now? I really did. I went through like a midlife crisis. Okay. You can ask friends. I really did. Okay. I did not know what to do with my life. And so I decided that at the very least, if I wanted to really be an entrepreneur, I needed to go figure out some type of intrapreneur position within Prudential. And at the time, a bunch of the other different offices wanted to have their own individual research departments. But at the time, the one in headquarters was the only one. So I ended up going to Connecticut and annuities. That's where they sent all the geniuses. That's where my mentor, the CFO, recommended for me to go when I was trying to choose between all the different locations. I almost went to London. And so while there, that's when I volunteered to restructure project management for the company, found out about solving problems in 2 days versus 3 days, saved the company $6 billion, and took them from number 16 to number 4 in 1 year.
Wow. Okay.
And then they put me on the CEO track, gave me a full ride to Wharton, $30,000 bonus, and something else. Oh, double promotion.
And you was like,
I basically felt like I just made y'all $6 billion. And that was just on that project.
Right.
We're not even talking about the African American study that they've made millions off of, the Obama's Veterans Initiative study, the BP oil crisis that I secretly worked on, and a bunch of other stuff I covered up for them.
So your slice of that $6 billion was the 30,000 I heard you mention?
I wouldn't even say that was a slice. That was just my bonus because
Okay.
I did the African American study that year, so I would have got a $30,000 bonus no matter what.
And so really
according
quickly
to the mathematical pay scale.
To give it context really quickly, the study that we're referring to was studying the wealth gap, the wealth divide between African Americans in this country and everyone else. And then also some of the things that have led to that over time and kind of what the, tenfold difference is in household wealth versus African American, so on and so on. Anything else you want to add to that? I might have missed.
Do you know that it's the first ever African American study by a financial services company?
I do know that.
Yes.
Actually.
okay. Wow.
So it was a huge deal. It
At the
has
time.
changed the entire industry. There are now blacks in life insurance commercials when I wake up, and that was my childhood goal.
Okay.
And I was going to fight my life so that people could see that financial services was for them as well. It just wasn't for the white and the affluent. It was also being marketed to them because I understood the power of life insurance.
Okay.
After that, I went to Africa.
Okay.
You and Dave Chappelle.
Exactly. I was like, now, exactly though. When you trying to figure some stuff out, it's like, you know what? If I could just get to Africa, God is probably in Africa, and I know God gonna come speak to me while I'm in Africa.
Sure.
And so he walked away from his illustrious thing when he went, and I walked away from Prudential.
Right.
And so I'm serious.
And you were on the CEO track, I heard you
I was
mention.
on the CEO track,
Right.
a young black female. And this wasn't no just talk because I secretly found some stuff on a printer one day. I really was on this 9-block CEO track, okay? For real, I really was.
Okay, so you went to Africa.
Yes, I went to Africa and I met a little boy in a Wharton t-shirt.
Okay.
And I realized no matter how intelligent he became, he probably would never have the opportunity to actually go to Wharton. And it ate me up. And I decided to quit my job to found this company once I went back to Connecticut. Now, in the middle of making that decision, I had until Monday. This was I got back like around Wednesday or Thursday. And so on Friday, I was sitting there tormented that the fact that Monday was approaching and I was going to have to go back to work. And
Isn't that normal? No, I'm playing. Go ahead.
I think so. And so basically I sat there and I Googled different startup stuff happening in Connecticut. Just coincidentally, Startup Weekend was happening in Connecticut, and it was one of the few that was happening across the world. Just happened to be in Connecticut that weekend. I went, got accepted into the Stanford Innovation Center, and on that Monday, I quit my job.
Oh, wow.
I called the CFO of the company, who was my favorite mentor, and told him that I was leaving and that I deeply apologize. I appreciate everything everybody has done for me.
Mm-hmm.
I got so many phone calls from different people at Prudential, HR call. Everybody thought that I was just having a rough day
Right.
and maybe I had too much time at the beach, or they was just like, oh, give us a call back. Surely you don't mean this.
Right.
Then to make things even worse, when I go to start the program on Monday, that night, the program starts at 6. The CFPB called me at 5:30 and tell me that they're founding the CFPB and wants me to be a founding member of it. So
And that's the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau?
Yes.
Okay.
So I then had to turn that down as well. So basically after that, I did really well in Connecticut. I became one of the first 8 official entrepreneurs of Connecticut. I'm currently in the Library of Connecticut. And then I won a bunch of competitions in New York because I was like, Connecticut's kind of small. And then from there, I decided to come on home. And that's how I got back home. I joined the University of Maryland, did a Part Institute with the Art Institute of Washington, was able to build the first web version of the product. We won Industrial Bake Small Business Competition. That was the funding that we were able to use to leverage that. The following year, we won JP Morgan Chase competition for the best solution in the world for reducing poverty in partnership for the Center for Global Policy Solutions, led by Dr. Maya Rockeymoore, who's running for governor right now. Shout out to Dr. Maya Rockeymoore. And basically, ever since we came in contact with Dr. Maya, our whole world changed because we were able to leverage the funding from the JP Morgan Chase grant to be able to build the mobile version of the game.
Right.
From there, we got invited to the White House in Michelle Obama's office and got named Best Financial Literacy Product in the country by Office of Michelle Obama, and we had JP Morgan Chase under our belt. Later that year, the Department of Education hosted the top 25 learning games in the country, and they hilariously set our competitor, who has 190 million, we had 200,000 at the time. They set us side by side each other, number 20, number 21, for 6 hours. We went head to head, and we won best learning game in the country. Not just best financial game, but best learning game, period, in the country. And that really helped to elevate us and take us to another level.
Okay, excellent. So really quickly, your first product at the Wealth Factory was the game Credit Stacker, which is now an app. It's been downloaded how many times on across the platform?
250,000. Okay,
250,000 downloads. Explain to us very quickly what the game is. You said it's like Candy Crush. Kind of explain how it works and the mechanisms behind it.
Yeah, so similar to Candy Crush, it's a match 3 game that allows you to swap around various different pieces to pay off your debt and achieve a higher credit score. And essentially, the pieces represent the 5 major credit types, where you have home loans, student loans, medical bills, credit cards, and the like. And as you swap off these pieces, they're representing consecutive bill payments. There's also multiple choice questions built in about every 5 to 10 minutes to assess your knowledge along the way. And in the new version, we're connecting it with the stock market, and you're actually going to have to monitor the stock market in order to manage the pieces and boards and stuff like that within the game.
Okay.
So we're very excited about the new version. We're going to launch it at South by Southwest.
Excellent.
2018.
Excellent. So real quick, we're going to take a quick music break in a second. But you built an app. You had like a background in finances. What did you study in school again?
Marketing.
So how did you build essentially what was a technical? I assume there was coding involved.
Yes, I code as well.
Oh, you code as well?
Yes.
Oh, so then that's the answer to that question.
I didn't code when I first started.
Okay.
I just learned to code in January.
Okay. So
after I invented the game.
How did you work? How did you make that happen if you didn't have the skills to code at the time? Real quick.
That has been the roughest part of starting the company, and I wish I didn't listen to people that told me I didn't need to know how to code.
Right.
Because ever since I learned how to code in January, things became so much easier.
Because you could speak the language.
I could speak the language. I couldn't be BS. I couldn't be overpriced. Right. It completely, the famous memes that go around that talk about the overpriced technology because people just don't know.
Right.
It eliminates that whole 70% gray area because it only takes 10 minutes to put sound in something and shouldn't cost $10,000.
Right.
So, for real, it's going to do all that? I can do it myself.
Right.
Just send me the APK back.
Absolutely.
And so even things like that, knowing the difference between APK and SDK and different terminology and all those different type of things, it has been fantastic. So originally, the Art Institute students helped guide me. I really got a lesson in game development from the people working for me.
Okay.
Working for me.
Okay, excellent. Well, we're going to take a really quick music break. You're listening and watching Manage Your Damn Money. We're going to hear from Mr. Beats by Beeman. You can follow him on Instagram. Just search at Beats by Beeman. This is Manage Your Damn Money with Ben and Malcolm. We will be right back. Welcome back to Manage Your Damn Money with Ben and Malcolm. We are honored to be joined by Miss Angel Rich, someone with a ridiculous resume in the finance space. I was reading the piece that featured you. When was it? May?
Yes, May 3rd.
May of 2017.
I would never forget that day.
I was reading it again last night. I was like, dang. So anyway, so it's interesting because you've been in this space.
And that's still not everything. She still kept it short.
I know it's not everything. So you've been in the financial space really since you were a kid. You said your family has a history of being in the life insurance business, so it's been around you since you were a child. What's been the biggest thing now that you're pursuing and running a company that operates in this on a day-to-day basis? What's been the biggest thing that you've noticed about people and their money and how people work when it comes to learning about money?
I've learned how much people really don't know.
Okay.
Like, I already figured that and kind of knew that, but the more and more I do this and just provide people with, I'm talking basic information, it's like they lose their minds. Like, oh my God, you're saving my life, which I appreciate, but it's like, really? Like, this is basic information. And then I wonder, is it basic to me because I've learned so much now and because I grew up around it? It's just common knowledge in my family. Or is it not basic information? I don't know. But that fascinates me more than anything when I just give people basic credit tips and it increases their credit score. And it's like, really? You didn't know that already?
They don't teach that in college.
Yeah,
they don't teach it anywhere, which is my passion around this. And I guess, if you don't have a parent that is financially savvy, you don't learn the information.
Right. So on our show, Manage Your Damn Money, the overall goal, I guess, here is to make like the most complex financial situations seem as simple as possible, right? And one way to do that is through gamification, which is the space that you're in. So from credit stacker to the next thing, kind of how do you see the world of gamification helping to kind of shorten the divide you just talked about between folks and financial literacy?
One of the things that I'm going to spend 2018 doing is really gaining, how do I say this, more credibility as a pioneer of gamification.
Okay, good for you.
I actually invented gamification in my head in 2000. Now, I'm not saying I invented gamification, but I invented gamification in my head in 2009.
Okay.
Wharton didn't come out with the word or paper for it until 2012.
Okay.
So I had long had plans for, I felt like the world, and I was right, that the world was, and I didn't have a word for it, but I basically felt like that the video, everything is an evolution of things that happened in the past. So for video games to have had such a revolution to the point that it did during the 90s and 2000s, and then to it was a moment of stalled innovation in the video game industry. And then I'm noticing that smartphone usage is picking up. There are 3 billion people in poverty, but 1.5 billion of them have smartphones. And so I'm seeing people with water and don't have water, but they have a phone. And so I quickly realized that video games was going to move to mobile phones. I also realized that eventually the world would figure out that video games is a simulation of life. The reason how video games and Call of Duty even got started was because the military wanted to simulate war and help prepare people to learn how to integrate, how to be involved with war before they actually joined the military. So I figured there would only be a matter of time before science and the government started to apply games to other learning skills. And I immediately felt like, okay, now that I figured this out, what is the most impactful way that I can use this? And I felt like financial literacy, because money spans across the entire country and across every single arena. So that's why I said at the beginning, we have 12 interactive modules. So energy, health, life insurance, all of these different verticals still line up to money and the need for financial literacy. So gamification is eventually going to take over the world. Okay. And when you talk to different experts about that, it has actually greatly improved science. One of the other things that I realized gamification was a new wave was when they put AIDS in a game.
HIV?
Yeah.
Okay.
They had a game to come up with a cure for AIDS.
Oh, wow.
And they had been researching this for literally like 20 or 30 years. You can Google this.
Okay.
They had been researching this cure, this specific cure for 20 or 30 years. They put it in a game. People solved it in like 2 days.
Oh, wow.
And so it was starting to be this conversation about can games influence behavior and change the world and all this type of stuff. And I was like, yes.
Okay. Excellent.
I'll bet on that.
Real quick, that's interesting. What do you see as a solution for just being a technology company in this space? You're in the process of raising money for your company now. What does it take to be taken seriously really quickly, when you're stepping out, for those who are listening, when you're stepping out to raise funding for a company?
Guts, grit, confidence, and actually know what you're talking about.
Okay. That's
and a
pretty
track
good.
record don't hurt.
Okay. That makes sense.
So really quickly, speaking of track record, so you wrote a book. It's called The History of the Black Dollar. I saw it was on Amazon.
Yes.
Could you give us a quick 10 seconds on what the book does?
It's my pride and joy. It's been in my head since I was a little girl. I've always studied Black history, and it basically goes from slavery to present day and takes people on an economic journey and describes the contributions that Blacks have made to make America the capitalistic society that it is today. America was built on slaves and cotton, and we need to get on the same page with that story.
Okay, excellent. You're a business owner. Talk to me about how you see the wealth factor as it pertains to your entire career. Like, what do you see in the future?
I actually see us running the world in the future, if I was to be completely honest.
Okay.
I think that what we're doing right now, money rules the world.
Indeed it does.
So if you're the controller of money and the analytics behind that money, you will eventually control the world, especially if you happen to know how to create an algorithm for the stock market.
Okay. Excellent. So the basic details, because we're at the end of the show. Where can people find Credit Stacker, the app? Where can they learn more about
Yes.
Wealth Factor and everything that you have?
The rundown. Download Credit Stacker on Google Play and iOS for free in 60 countries and 21 languages. Get History of the Black Dollar on Amazon.com. Follow me, Angel Rich, on Facebook, Angel Rich 27 on Twitter, Angel Rich 27 on Instagram, as well as at Wealthy Lifers on Facebook and at Wealthy Life on Instagram. And from time to time, I appear on Snap, Angel Rich 27.
Occasionally,
I do a cameo on Snap.
when you're feeling young and
Yeah.
you'll turn on.
You know what I'm
Snapchat.
saying?
That's hilarious. Well, very good, Angel. Why 27?
My favorite number is 27 because it is 3 cubed.
Okay.
3 is a holy number. 3 to the third power is 27.
Excellent. She's in here doing math equations on Manage Your Damn Money. We want to remind people you can always listen to past episodes of Manage Your Damn Money on Apple Podcast. You can also find us on SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/Manage Your Damn Money. You can also find us on Stitcher and Google Play. Just search Manage Your Damn Money with Ben and Malcolm. Malcolm, what's your social media handle?
At Malcolm on Money.
Mine, of course, is at MYDM1. We want to thank you for listening to this episode of Manage Your Damn Money. Thank you, Angel, for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We'll do it again soon, and we'll talk about some other subject.
Yeah, we got to do one from Hampton one day.
In the year 2000.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't think you guys get the joke. It's
I
fine.
get it.
You get it? Okay, thank
I'm
you.
a
I missed that
Hamptonian.
one.
Anyway, all right. Well, this is Manage Your Damn Money with Ben and Malcolm. Till next time, be good with your money.
Peace.
Peace.